Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me here on Product Perspective. So as you probably already knew or heard or whatever, somehow you heard that there was going to be a rocket launch, and that was going to be Wednesday the 27th. As you probably already know, the rocket launch did not happen, and on the live video almost 1 million people were viewing it, and there were several other live streams as well with like 500,000. NASA's had almost 1 million. And several of the other ones had hundreds of thousands. So it was over probably 3 or 4 million people watching this online, probably even more. And President Trump flew out there. You know, you saw Air Force One fly over during the live stream. It was a crazy time. I watched for almost 2 hours. I was watching and it was really cool. It was getting down to the moment. And then at about 25 minutes to T-minus 25 minutes to launch, they said there were some weather problems. Now, we already knew there's weather, so they said about 60% chance that it was not going to happen, but it looked like it was kind of clearing up. People were saying this might work, and then once you got down to about 30 minutes, they said, we're trying to look at weather. It's still a go, but we're going to let you know at 25 minutes. 25 minutes came, and they said, we need to let you know at 20 minutes. At 20 minutes came, they said, let's give you 2 minutes, and we'll see what the weather does. And at 16 minutes and 50 seconds, they called it and said, we are not doing the rocket launch because there is a small storm that is coming in and we just can't take off and we really cannot push it back. But that's what I want to explain to you guys today is why they couldn't push taking it off just 10-15 minutes later, and why the storms matter and why they just couldn't do it. But on the bright side, the rocket launch is still going to happen. It's going to happen this Saturday, which is the 30th at 3:30 Eastern time, which is 2:30 my time. So I'm probably not going to watch the whole live stream because I already saw most of it, but I can't wait. They said there's still some weather chance on that day as well, but that's hopefully the day that is going to happen. So I want to explain why they can't push it back. So in there, they kind of were explaining it, but it's kind of hard to understand with all their big words and stuff. But essentially what it means is when they have their time, which was 4:33, and that's the time it was going to take off no matter what, they're meeting up with the ISS, which is the International Space Station. And that space station is orbiting our Earth, and it's orbiting every 90 minutes about. So that's going really, really fast around the Earth. I mean, that's super fast, an hour and a half. And so since they're meeting up with it, it's going to be almost a 19-hour flight from when they take off to meeting the ISS. So they have to have that timed perfectly. So when they take off, they have to, in 19 hours, they have to meet up with the ISS perfectly. If you delay that 10 minutes, now the ISS has moved that much more around the Earth, and in 19 hours, they're not going to line up. And so then you would burn more fuel, lining it back up where the ISS is, and just getting there is going to burn so much more fuel. You're not going to have enough fuel, and so that just can't happen. And so they can't move it at all. And so when the storm comes in, there was no lightning, so they were agreeing with the lightning, but when there's tons of rain and thunder and wind, that can mess up the rocket when it goes up. And also, they were explaining for, you know, when the rocket goes up, it's going at an angle to get into the orbit of the Earth. And so where that's going, that means you're going way over part of the Earth. And that part of the Earth has to be somewhat clear of storms as well. Because if something happens to the Crew Dragon Falcon 9, then they would have to land. And that means either landing in really rough storms in a rough ocean where they probably wouldn't survive. And so they can't take any of these risks, especially when it's taken them 5 years to train these guys, get the program up and running. It's a big deal and a lot of money, people's lives on the line, so they can't just move it 10 minutes. So I know there's a lot of people that were probably bummed. They're like, well, why did you not move it? But there's a lot more than just, oh, let's just move it. There's a lot of details that goes into that. So let's talk about the Falcon 9 Crew Dragon for just a little bit. So I did a live video the other day, and I kind of messed up in it because it was my very first live video, so I stumbled over some words and stuff. Hopefully you guys will forgive me, but you can go check that out. It's also very blurry. But I wanted to talk about the Falcon 9 Crew Dragon. So SpaceX was started in 2002, so it's been 18 years since SpaceX started, and the owner of that, who started it, was Elon Musk, or is Elon Musk. And he also started Tesla. So if you don't know of SpaceX or any of those other things, you probably know of Tesla or one of the companies. But he first started off in PayPal. He was a co-founder, I believe. Sold that, started Tesla, and started SpaceX. And then Tesla kind of funded SpaceX until they signed the contract with NASA for almost $2.6 billion to fly their crew and any supplies up to the ISS, International Space Station. And since they signed that, they've been working on the Crew Dragon and been getting that ready for today. They've already flown a couple flights, and they've been pretty good, so they were ready for today, or yesterday if you've seen this video. They flew 62 successful flights in a row. So that was a big deal, having so many done that they felt confident. So Bob and Doug were the first that were going to fly off, but of course that just didn't happen. And so I'm always wondering, like, what is Bob and Doug thinking? Like, what are they thinking? They're in there, they strapped in, they're in there for 3 hours, they're ready to go, and then they call it off. You know, like, what were their hearts doing? You know, they were ready to go in this space rocket that has never carried men before, and then they call off and they have to wait 3 days. It must just feel really, really weird. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you go check out the live stream on Saturday at 3:30 something. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's 3:30 Eastern time. And I can't wait for then, because I was so ready in 16 minutes and 30 seconds, and they called it off. So that was a bummer, but safety first, like they always say. So hopefully you liked the video. Make sure you consider subscribing and also giving this video a like, and go check out my live stream. And yeah, that's about it for today. I can't wait for the rocket launch. Hopefully you can't either.